That is a humongous statement. And if you don't really do that, you might be what my grandma say, telling a story. Us preachers call it a lie. Huh? But how many of you tonight said, I really want to know that I love him with all of my heart tonight? I appreciate our brother. We got a chance to spend a little time with each other tonight after service. If you'd like to take them out to eat and go along with us or whatever, that's fine. I won't even ask you to pay for my food. But if you want to go, have a little fellowship. If you have time to fellowship after church, y'all have time. And so we plan on doing that. I think my wife, you got to work. No, you don't have to work tomorrow. We got church tomorrow. I keep feeling like it's during the week. So do keep that in your mind. Make sure you let them know if you haven't had a chance. Get around. Let them know how much you appreciate it. There have been times, and I say this on his behalf, whenever I was evangelizing, there were times I would go to a revival. I think he alluded to this last night, and I didn't know for sure how much good that it did or how much was really accomplished. And we really never know anyway, but you would maybe have somebody and you feel kind of like, well, I didn't preach as good tonight, or I wish I'd have done this or would have said that. And then you have somebody come by and you didn't expect it. Somebody say, I just wanted you to know that what you said, God really used you and told me thus and so. I believe that we can encourage one another. So if you've been blessed, I want you to make sure you get around and you let them know. And also his wife. He's not the only one in this. They are a team effort. And I appreciate her as well. So I want you to give him a hand tonight. Let him know you appreciate it. When you get home, I encourage you to share the videos with your friends and family, because just today, I looked at the broadcast earlier today from last night, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I've looked at a few, I think it was somewhere around 400 or 500 views from yesterday, and that tells me that whether people watch the whole thing or not, there's a lot more people than what you see are receiving this. So this is going farther than we realize, and I believe God's going to help us. You remember what I told you earlier. Lord, use the word to talk to me tonight. Stand to your feet. Give this brother a hand. Let him know you appreciate him for being here.
Amen. It's good to be in the Lord's house. Amen. While you're standing with us, if you don't mind, let's find Luke chapter number 24. Luke chapter number 24. While you're finding that, I do want to say how much we appreciate all the giving, the meals, the fellowship, everything that's been done. We always appreciate a pastor opening up his door to us, and the folks coming in to press in. The folks that are here for a reason. Amen. And we always appreciate that. Brother Gorham, it's good to meet you officially, and I'm sure that you feel the same way. It's always appreciated when folks show up for revival. For without the people, we wouldn't have revival. Without somebody coming hungry for God, we wouldn't have the ability to deliver a message to help somebody. So I appreciate you coming. Amen. Luke chapter 24, starting with verse number 13. If you have it, let's have a good amen. Amen. It says, and behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. And it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were holden that they should not know him. He said unto them, what manner of communication are these that ye have one to another as ye walk and are sad? For 13 and 14, one more time, it said, and behold, two of them went that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was from Jerusalem about 80 furlongs. And they talked together of all these things which had happened. If you would, let's stretch our hands toward heaven and let's ask the Lord to help us right here. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to be in your house. God of heaven, we ask you, Lord, right now, in the name of Jesus. Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you for standing with us. If the Lord will help me tonight for just a little while, we're going to try to preach to you, hanging on to memories. Hanging on to memories. The memory is a vital part of us. It's absolutely amazing at times the things the mind can remember and hold on to. We can recall memories that bring up good emotions, and we can recall memories that bring up bad thoughts and bad emotions. When we focus on the memories of the past that hurt, it will tend to lead to more hurt. When we focus on hate, we will tend to hate more. When we focus on suffering, we will tend to suffer more. But when you think about this memory and how amazing it is and what somebody can remember, just a couple of years, I don't remember exactly, 4 or 5 years ago, I actually blew my father's mind with the memory I have for when I was a real little boy. I started describing to him, Dad, what happened to this motorcycle you had? He said, which one? I said, the one that looked like this. And I gave him the color. And I gave him the shape of the seat. His eyes got real big and his mouth dropped open. He said, son, I got rid of that bicycle before you turned 2 years old. Because he got rid of that bicycle before he got saved. And that was 4 days after I turned 2 years old. I started describing that thing. I remember my dad would sit me on the seat of that motorcycle holding on to me, and he would drive me down the dirt path and take a loop around the pond and take me back to the house. I can remember those things, friend. I remember, Lord, the double wide we used to live in when I was a kid before my dad got saved, and how the winter before my dad got saved, we had a snow, and my older brother, 4 years older than me, he was allowed to go outside and play in the snow with the next door neighbor's kids. But me, I wasn't allowed to go outside, and I remember banging on that sliding glass door on the double wide, crying because I wanted to be out there in the snow, and I had to stay in the house. But that was before I turned 2. I'm here to tell you, friend, your mind can hang on to things that sometimes if you sit down and think about it, it'll absolutely surprise you. All the things that you can come up with and the things that you can recall. But when we focus on the things of the past that bring up those good memories, we begin to have the good feelings that would combat those bad feelings. And friend, that's why Paul said in Philippians 4:8, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. The enemy of our soul, he has a desires and wishes for you, but going against his desires and wishes outside of his control, beyond his thoughts, he is not on the same level as God. The Bible will tell us in different places the attributes of our Heavenly Father. God is omnipotent. It means He's all-powerful. God is omnipresent. It means He's all-present or everywhere. God is omniscient. That means He knows everything. He is all-knowing. But Satan has none of these attributes. For example, if you read the book of Job in chapters 1 and 2, when he comes before the throne and God asks Satan, where have you been? He says, from walking to and fro in the earth and up and down in it. He is absolutely doing exactly what I believe it was Peter that wrote. He's walking about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He can't be everywhere at one time. So if the older saint, somebody stands up and testifies in yonder state that the devil's been on their back all day, and somebody in yonder state testifies the same thing on the same day, I got a hard time believing it, because he can't be everywhere at one time. I know sometimes it's just something we say. We're just fighting the trial, and we're going to attribute it to the enemy. Let me slide this in here for free. I'm rabbit trailing real quick. Everything we go through, every problem we have ain't the devil's fault. Just like everything we go through and every problem we have ain't a trial from heaven. Sometimes we as humans just make bad decisions. And we got to turn to God to get us out of the mess that we dug. And we got to turn to God to get us out of the stuff that the devil dug. And we got to turn to God to get us out of the stuff that the enemy of our soul, the demons of hell dug. Oh, but friend, it ain't always their fault. Oh, I want to tell you, it's time that we quit giving credit where credit is not due, and just stand up and say, I made a bad choice there. I got out of the will of God there. I did something I shouldn't have done there. But if I can just get my mind under subjection to Christ one more time, under the authority of the blood of Jesus, and get my mind back on the things which are good and pure and holy and right, and focus on the fact that my God, the God whom I serve, oh, he is able, because he is still omnipresent, he is still omnipotent, he is still all-knowing, he is still everywhere. He knows the very need before we even pray. If we just open our mouth and give him glory. Satan is none of these. We give him way too much credit. And those thoughts that bring up in the back of our mind that would hinder, those thoughts that would bring us down, those thoughts that would hurt us, they are done without the foreknowledge. Oh, see, my dad's uncle, my great uncle, he was, I dare say, the first preacher I ever known. He was the pastor of the church where my father got saved when my father come back to God. He was the pastor I was raised under from the time my dad got saved until I was about 8 years old. He's my uncle. He helped babysit and raise me along with my aunt. Right. They were just like grandparents to me. Oh, he had a lot of effect on my life. And one of the things, God help me, I will never forget, is he was up there and he said, they asked me one time why I write down notes to preach with. He said, and I looked at him and smiled and said, the devil may steal my thoughts, but he can't eat my paper. He can slide thoughts in. He can put you in a situation by sliding that thought in. But he does not have the ability to have the foreknowledge to know what you're going to do with that thought once it gets in there. That's why having thoughts, that come up that are contrary to Christ is not sin, but pondering and staying on those thoughts will lead to sin. We can't help sometimes what we dream. We can't help sometimes what we see. We can't help sometimes what we hear. But the gateway to our mind, it's going to cause us to have thoughts. It's going to cause us to remember songs we used to listen to. It's going to cause us to rehash messages we've heard preached, to rehash hurts that we got in the church. It's going to cause us to have a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts. But the devil does not have the foreknowledge to know what you're going to do about it. He don't know how you're going to react. But the hopes and the aspirations of it bringing you towards a breaking point is the reason he continues doing it. Sometimes those breaking points are a long journey away, which means the bombardment takes a whole lot longer, and you go through it a whole lot harder and a whole lot longer. But sometimes those breaking points are just a short trip down the road. Maybe, if you will, about 70 furlongs. All these folks that have been affected by the life of Jesus Christ, all these different kinds of people that have different lifestyles that have been impacted different ways by the life of Jesus Christ. You've got 12 that were handpicked and chosen. He walked by and I feel like he probably called their name, got their attention, and said, "Follow me." But then you got multiple thousands of people that did not have that calling, but that did not change, that their life was affected by Christ. You got 5,000 folk that gathered in just to see what he was going to do because of his miracles. And when they gathered in, they was hungry because somebody didn't prepare right. Somebody made a bad decision. But Jesus gathered in because a little boy had 5 saltines and 2 sardines. Oh, he gathered in and he broke bread and he called upon the Father and he passed out enough to feed all 5,000. Oh, the Bible tells us of another time where 3,000 more got fed. That means there was multiple people besides the 12 that were affected by the life of Christ. What made Cleopas and this other friend so special? Where now they are heading down the road to Emmaus, about 80 furlongs. And they've talked together of all these things which had happened. I'm talking about somebody in this house tonight that's hanging on to memories. Walking around talking about all these things which had happened. Fast forward just a couple of verses and you get to verse 17, where they didn't realize it was Jesus. And he said, what manner of communications are these that you have one to another as you walk and are sad? These ain't tears of joy. This ain't a smile that just has been dampened a little bit because you've been sweating. Somebody is sad. Somebody is down. And he knew the very need when he walked up. He knew what was going on. He knew the thoughts that was in the mind. He knew the conversation. Oh, when the memories of how things used to be come sliding in, the enemy doesn't want us focusing on the good. He wants us focusing on the bad. So it don't, when they answer Jesus, you don't see how it talks about how he fed the 5,000. Or how he fed the 3,000. Or how there was a man with the withered hand in Mark 3. Or a man with palsy and let down through the roof in Mark 2. You don't hear all that. You don't hear about a woman at the well in John 4 or a man at the pool of Bethesda in John 5. You don't hear all that. You don't even hear the conversation with the rich young ruler when Jesus asked them, why are you sad? What he hears in the response is all the things they thought. Oh, we thought he was Messiah, but he's been taken from us. He's been killed. They found that the tomb is empty. They found things that it goes contrary to what I thought. It goes contrary to what we felt. It goes contrary to what we believed. They actually said, for we had believed it would have been him. Come on now. Oh, I'm here to tell you, friend, it might not go just the way you believed. It might not be just the way you felt. It might not happen just how you look at it and want it to happen. Oh, but Jesus is still Jesus. God the Father is still God the Father. He's still everywhere. He's still got all power. Jesus said all power in heaven and in earth has been given unto me. I'm here to tell you, friend, he's got it in control if you just focus on the good thing. But that enemy, when did it start? The moment they left Jerusalem, because that's where they were supposed to be. Focus. Well, I'm just going to say it. I heard another evangelist say it, so I guess I can say it. I believe 100% everybody in the house that hears a preacher preach is responsible for the word that went forth. But I also believe the folks that could have been under the voice of the preacher and chose not to be under the voice of the preacher will be held just as responsible. Work is different. Sickness is different. Now, I ain't talking about the sniffles. I'm talking about the sickness is different. But the folks that just say, I've got better things to do, they'll be held just as accountable. That's what I feel. They had the ability and they refused to get there. Oh, these two men right here, these two folks, they're traveling that 80 furlongs. It's somewhere between 8 and 10 miles. It's from what I can understand in my studies. And they're saying, you know what? We're tired of all this. We're going to the house. What is all the things on their mind they could be talking about? Well, you'll find that they had so much to discuss on the bad side. Verse 20 talks about the plots and the guilt of the Sanhedrin. It talks about the treachery of Judas and his subsequent suicide. The weakness of Herod and Pilate. They could talk about that. The terrible crime of Calvary. They could talk about how in verse 21, our Redeemer, our leader, our Messiah, or they can talk about the rumors of Christ's resurrection and the solid fact of an empty tomb out of verse 23. Either way, it don't go with what they felt. It don't go with what they wanted. It don't go with what they see. Can I tell you, friend, we ain't here to make a feel-good gospel. We ain't even here to help to make folks feel good about themselves. What we're here to do is show them that there's a better way. How can the way seem better if all we focus on is the hard times of life? Oh, we got folks today that do the same thing they do. We make it a point to talk about those holier than thou who ain't so holy. We make it a point to compare ourselves to the treachery of others to seem better to ourselves. We like to pinpoint the weaknesses of leadership so as to make it seem like failure is their fault. We'll try to say and try to think and try to believe and make ourselves believe that we don't even need Calvary anymore. We have our own desires and ways to get through where we don't need the leadership of Christ anymore. And in our mind, we begin to question the accuracy of the gospel simply because he ain't here anymore, and we're tired of thinking that way was the right way. Ain't that what the gospel writer said when he said, and they asked, where is the promise of his coming? It's been like this since the fathers went to sleep. It's been like this for many ages. There was a Church of God writer, I believe it was, in 88 that wrote 88 reasons while Christ would come in 88. They preached he'd come before the year 2000. They preached he'd come before 2010. And now here we are at 2018. It's the same as it's always been, and the fathers are falling asleep. Let me tell you something, friend. Jesus made sure their eyes were holding that they did not know him, and he drew near. I'm here to tell you, friend, you're going to get blinded. If you don't get right, you're going to get left, because I don't want my eyes to be holding. I want to know that he's the good Father. Just a short distance of a walk from Jerusalem to Emmaus. But they've left the disciples. They've left the area they were supposed to be in. What are they saying? They're saying no more mixing them up. No more confusion. No more hurt. You can pick however many years. You could say, I've been in this thing 40 years. I'm tired of the struggle. I've been in this thing 30 years. I'm tired of the struggle. 20 years, tired of the struggle. I could say 10 years, tired of the struggle. But friend, I really can't say I'm tired of the struggle. That's just me. But there's a lot of folks that would. Just like Cleopas and his friend. They said it's been 3.5 years, and we're tired of the struggle. I'm taking matters into my own hands. I'm going to the house. I'm better off at home. I don't feel it like I want to feel it. I'm going to the house. If we get our eyes off of the hard times and the bad things that's happened and get our mind on the good times and the good things that's happened, let me say it like this. That old song said, count your blessings and name them one by one. Oh, we could always, in the heat of the battle, we can start checking off the things that have gone wrong. But if we'd ever just take a deep breath, sit down, get out the notepad and start writing out everything that's going right since we started following Christ. But instead, we'd rather just say, I'm taking matters into my own hands. Friend, their failure and our failure is in remembering Christ's ministry. They neglected their own. In remembering his life, they had done away with his death. They were cutting out the future. Oh, if we sit here and focus on everything that's going wrong, if we focus on all the hurt and focus on all the pain and focus on all the hard times and focus on who ain't here, then all of a sudden we're cutting out the death of Christ, because when you forget about the death. You forget about the resurrection, my God of heaven. You forget that he is alive. Oh, they told Jesus that we heard from a woman who went to the sepulcher. And when he came back, they said he is alive. Oh, we're stressed out because he ain't there. But the fact is, he's alive. We're stressed out because it didn't go the way we felt. But the fact is, he is alive. There's folks that need to know it. There's people that need to hear it. And we need to grow on it. The simple fact that it ain't as hard as it seems. It ain't as bleak as it looks. Because he is alive. Glory. I'm trying to follow the Lord here. I was at a big youth conference, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I want to say it was 2015. I don't know, some 5,000-6,000 good, godly, conservative young people and youth leaders and preachers and adults. And there was thousands of folks gathered in Tennessee. And the president of OBI, Brother Danny Taylor, they asked him to get up and just say a few words. And he got up there and he said, I want to tell you something that the Lord spoke to me. He said, when your memories of past ministry is greater than the dreams of future ministry, you're done. Well, in studying for this message and remembering that quote, I felt like the Lord just wanted me to reword it for a minute, so I'm going to give you two more. When your memories of past victory is greater than the dreams of future victory, you're done. When your memories of past power is greater than the dreams of future power, you're done. Why? Because Paul said in Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. If he ain't changed, the power ain't changed. If he ain't changed, the dream ain't changed. If he ain't changed, the ability ain't changed. We're focused on the bad times. We're hanging on the memories. But it's time to let go and let go. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. Right here. I don't know how long this church has been here. I don't know how long each of you has been here, except Pastor, I think he said 11 years. But we've been here long enough to know that either we can hang on to the bad memories and die here. Go on back to Emmaus, kick our feet up, forget about all the last years of ministry. Forget about everything that God's done. If we're going to focus on the bad, that means we want to forget about the good. The enemy has tormented your mind with memories, and he's made you feel unworthy. He's made you feel abandoned. He's made you feel like nobody wants you around. But right here, as I'm getting ready to close, I want to tell you what Christ wants. Verse 30 said Christ wants to break bread. Verse 31 said Christ wants to open your eyes. And verse 32 said Christ wants to put a fire in you. What's he want to do? The memories of the past has taken the dream away, but he wants to give you a dream back. He wants to give you the vision back. It was already said this week, where there is no vision, the people perish. The wisest man to ever live penned that down under inspiration of God. But what he didn't say is where there is no vision, the pastor perishes. Where there is no vision, the deacons perish. Where there is no vision, the singers perish. No friend. He said where there is no vision, the people perish. The church will die. If we, oh God of heaven, if we can't let go of the bad times, if we can't let go of the hard memories, if we can't let go of the pain and focus on the things of God, we'll die in this place. Hallelujah. Right here. Everybody would stand with me. There's folks in this house, you've got a death grip on the way things used to be. Well, in case you ain't seen the calendar, in case you ain't seen culture around us, times have changed. But in case you ain't read the Word of God recently, let me remind you that God ain't. So as times have changed, and circumstances have changed, and situations have gone from bleak to bad, let me remind you, friend, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Right now, every head bowed, every eye closed. Yea, I say unto thee this night, have I not laid out in my word my thoughts concerning you, saith God? Have I not stated that I know where thou standest? I know where thou sittest. I know the burdens upon thine heart. Have I not encouraged thee to look to me, saith the Lord? Yea, I say unto thee this night, I have come to reach into you. I have come to lift you up. I have come to breathe fresh breath in you, saith the Lord. Yea, the enemy hath come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Yea, I say it to thee one more time, I have come that ye might have life and have it more abundantly, saith God. If thou would be willing to lay it all down, release all to me, saith the Lord, and focus on what I can do for you, I will move, saith God.